Kingdom Alliance podcast, where we share stories that matter. At Kingdom Alliance, we are on a mission to ignite a movement of impact and freedom through mentorship and the development of leaders across the globe. You're invited to listen in as we share stories from men and women around the world who are having a massive impact on the kingdom. Here at Kingdom Alliance, we believe that when you change yourself, you change the world.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Kingdom Alliance podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Molly Trotter-Gomez. So excited to be interviewing this couple here today. You know, when I met them through one of our ambassadors here at Kingdom Alliance, I just fell in love with just their genuine nature of who they are and their journey from single to married. And today we're going to be touching on the topics of singles and really what you should be focused on now before you're looking for that spouse. And I feel like every time I talk to you, Jesse and Irina, like we could just keep going on and on. I'm like, yes, this is so good. People need this. So it was time to press record and bring you on the show. And so we're very, very excited to have you here. Please take a few minutes to introduce both of yourselves and share a little bit about you.
Yes, thank you for having us. So, of course, my name is Jesse, and this is my lovely wife, Irina.
Hello.
And my background is previously Amish, and I went through that excommunication process. I was a bachelor then and was a bachelor for another 10 years as a previously Amishman, and met my wife in a similar state of singlehood.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll let you share a little bit about where you come from.
Yeah, I come from Russia, moved to the States in 97. So it's been a while and feel like this is my home for good. And both of us, we were single into our older age where, you know, older meaning some people say, oh my gosh, I'm already 30s. I'm still single. Well, we were already 40s. Jesse just were turning 40 and I was already 43. And single as Pringle, like we say, right? And then church and looking for the one and still couldn't really find the person and not clicking with anyone and got frustrated. So finally, both of us, we didn't know each other, but we got invited into a program and like a online course for singles that's used to called Single to Married. Or fast track to marriage.
It used to be called fast track to marriage. Currently,
single to married.
It was handed off to us to steward it, and is now called single to married.
Mm-hmm.
So the very process that we now implement to help singles move the needle forward into whatever is their next step, they get to define that. This is the very same process that helped us get married, and so we vicariously relive our own victory through seeing another person find their match, find their spouse, and become happily married in God's kingdom. So we get to relive that over and over, you know, vicariously through other people. Yeah. And so we've been doing this full time for 4 years, and we like to call ourselves our group an incubation period to help singles just to discover where they are, and where they want to go, and what is their next step to move towards what they want. So we don't necessarily just throw them into the wolves, but rather just define what is your next step. Maybe they need to build confidence on just giving compliments to random strangers. That's their first step.
Yeah. And why we love working with singles, because we were singles till 40s, and we had so many friends that were single and also struggling through same things. And because we found such a beautiful and easy, really, is the strategy, we invite singles to come into our community where we equip them and show them the steps, and then launch them into creating the beautiful marriage that they desire.
I love that. I just can't help but keep thinking like how much I love that we're recording this right now and we're sharing this, because we've talked about this, and it's no secret that in the church and other places, like there's not a lot of resources for singles, or it's not as like prevalent out there. Not that there's not things out there. Obviously, you two are living proof that there are, and you get to see the fruit of that when you walk people through what you guys have put together. But
Mhm.
it's just, I've had so many friends say, like, wave the white flag saying like, hey, I'm out. Like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Honestly, dating is tough. Right before I met my husband, I was waving the white flag, and the Lord's like, hold on a second, don't wave it quite yet. I have somebody for you,
Yeah.
which I was very grateful for. But a part of this journey that I love that we're going to dive in on today is staying focused now. Like, what should they stay focused on at this point before they're married, to really be able to help launch them into a healthy marriage? I'm very curious on what you two have to say about that.
Yeah.
So there's the most common thing that most singles focus on that they think will help them get married, but it ends up frustrating a lot of them. And it has to do with becoming deeply involved in something else that they're finding fulfillment in, whether it's ministry, working on themselves in personal growth and development, becoming a better person, and still nothing's moving forward, and this frustration sets in. Like, I'm a great catch. Why am I still single? I should be married. I'm a great person. What's wrong with me? And they start, just picking themselves apart with the question of what's wrong, instead of asking, what could I do that I'm not doing? Instead of asking what's wrong. And so that has to do with the very same way that married people need to take action specifically towards maintaining and growing their connection and building their marriage and maintaining it. There's a similar aspect for singles to do the same, is to develop and create the skill sets necessary to create connection. If a single says, I'm doing all the things, I'm involved in ministry, I'm actually growing myself, I'm going to conferences, I'm learning and growing and becoming a leader. And then I'll ask the question, how many new people have you stepped out of your comfort zone with this week and gotten to know them? How many times have you put yourself out there to be visible, to be viewed, to be seen, to interact with people? And building friendships on purpose requires exercise and practice, with the mindset of every friendship that you build is another layer of experience that will bless your marriage someday, with confidence on connecting and communicating on a level that's not just superficial.
Yeah, that's very good. And there's so many things that we give tools in our community where you can practice with others as well, and in getting to know your mission. Why are you here? What is your purpose on this earth? Because if we don't know what our purpose is, we tend to stay dormant and maybe not satisfied with life, right? And if you're not satisfied, why would somebody wants to be with you if you're not happy where you are now? And becoming the person that you want to also attract is important, and start doing and going towards that. That's important as well.
And I would second what Irina just mentioned about the mission and vision. To really nail that down within yourself to the point of confidence in who you are and who God designed you to be and what He designed you to do.
Yeah.
And it's not just preach the gospel and heal the sick and make disciples. That's great, but we need to get more specific on what that looks like. What, where, when, who, how, when, why. You need to answer the specifics. What's your platform upon which you're going to preach from? Like, is it going to be in this business, that business? Is it whatever it is? It's going to be all encompassing over your life. Once you define that, now you have a template upon what you are looking for in the other person to match that, so you can be equally yoked, not just in faith, but also in the load that you're pulling on your mission. And oftentimes the biggest challenge that we find singles have is they don't know how to recognize the right one, because they haven't defined some things within themselves. So it's not just about personal growth, but it's about defining the deeper things within ourselves. So we have a template with which to even recognize a good match when they do walk in front of us. So we don't say no to the wrong person or yes to the wrong person.
Yeah. And, I feel like a lot of us go into discovery mode and judge a person by their cover, right? Or the book by its cover, we say, Well, it's the same thing for a person. We look at their outer part and we say, oh my gosh, he's so handsome, or she's so cute, you know? Oh, I want to get to know them better. But what about that person maybe who is not like appealing to you maybe right away? You know, why not get to know the person that is not bright and shiny and have the good presentation right away? What about the person itself, right? How to get to know that person, what questions to ask, how to pull the things out of them that will bring them out as well. And so in that, you are not only helping yourself by creating a new connection, but you help that person as well. And you might just find your spouse in that person that you never thought could be that, individual.
Powerful. I love that. That reminds me of my husband and I so much, because he was not the package I was looking for at all. And I put him in the friend zone for a very, very long time. And then we just would have these divine like get-togethers. And then just, the Lord just kept kind of bubbling up some things and I couldn't ignore it anymore. I'm like, this is strange. No, Johnny, no. Like what's going on? And then I couldn't ignore it. I was like, something is there, but I'm not really sure. But I was just really digging in and listening. And so that's me being very in tune with myself, but I still was resisting. So I was like, that's not the package that I asked for. That's not what I was looking for. Younger, shorter than me, like certain things where like people would be like, oh, that's, cross it off the list. And I'm like, the height doesn't make a man young. Like just because they're younger doesn't necessarily mean anything. And the person I was dating before I met my husband was like probably, I don't know, a good like 10, 15 years older than me. I can't remember now, but he wasn't as mature as my husband and who was younger than me. So there's so many things that we put on there to try to like create these boundaries until you're like, okay, let's just be open. Let's see where it goes. So I love what you're sharing, because so many of us aren't getting out there and meeting new people. Just like you mentioned, Jesse, like it's like the same in business. We have a lot of people come on this podcast, talk about business. You don't have a business if you don't go out there and talk to people. And so there are so many people out there everywhere, especially post-pandemic, what have you. Like so many people are like, I'm going to stay in my own bubble, do my own thing. Well, how are you supposed to meet people? I never was never wanted to get into the online dating thing. To each their own. I'm very much like old school. I want to meet in person and meet people like the just natural way. Yeah. So I love that you're sharing that. So powerful. What do you think is one of the most like common misconceptions when it comes to singles that kind of go through your program that you coach? Like what's something that comes up all the time that you wish you could just eradicate if you could?
That's a good question.
Oh boy. If I just wanted to take it all in one fell swoop, it has to do with limiting mindsets and beliefs, most of which are influenced by past experience or what they saw in their growing up years, and also just plumb bad religious teaching. The most common one we hear is waiting on God, which isn't that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I always dive deeper and ask them describe to me, what does waiting on God look like to you? And there's two categories of explanations that come out, and I define it as a sailboat that's either out on the sea and the wind of the Spirit is blowing into the sails, creating motion so that God has he can use the rudder to achieve and course correct you, versus the sailboat tied at a dock with the anchor down. Two different definitions of waiting on God. So we need to define that. Faith in action is what will get people married. It's not just waiting on God, waiting for him to show you the right one. I waited on God for 20 years until he told me that he's been waiting on me. And he led me to the scripture that says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor of the Lord. And ask, seek not, is what Jesus said, right? So the man is more likely to need to get out there and go find somebody, pick somebody, choose somebody, pursue her, and ask the Lord for wisdom to make a wise decision in the process. That requires discernment and exercising discernment by, taking some risks, taking some chances. Now, the Lord did tell Irina that I'm her husband, but he didn't tell me that she's my wife. I had to take initiative and take responsibility. So there's that difference. But we can't depend on it being even like what we experience. I can't guarantee that that's going to be the next person's experience. That was our experience. Yeah. But I, for myself, had to man up, roll up my sleeves, and do the work. And I had to practice and role play building friendship with a variety of women without the dating label. Zero expectations. And I communicated that clearly, immediately right out of the gate, and only communicated with ladies that were willing to work with me and just build friendship without expectations. And I did it with the mindset I'm communicating with somebody else's future wife with that level of integrity and honor, and just practice getting comfortable talking with a woman and getting to know her. And that's how I found Irina, out of that mixture of women that I was just practicing and role playing. And I'm friends to all of them to this day. One of the girls that I actually had hopes and dreams for asked us to officiate her wedding then after we'd already gotten married. So that's how little awkwardness there was involved in the process, because expectations, to the degree to which you have expectations alongside an attachment to the outcome, is the degree to which you will then also experience disappointment. If you have no expectations or attachment to the outcome, you can't be disappointed. You just made another friend.
Yeah. And I would echo that, because I think in church, it's so interesting how many times we hear, well, I can't really talk to an opposite gender because if somebody sees us talking, they're going to start assuming that we're dating. Or if we're going out for coffee, the next step is dating, right? It's already, oh, is it a date? And then we all get into our head, as women especially, we're very good at imagining what's next. We already married this guy in our imagination. We're already practicing signing his last name, right? And then we can't even get to know the person yet. We didn't even go into the building friendship, right? And I know we talked with you about that, how we got to know each other first on the friends level.
And in doing so, we defined everything we needed to know to decide that we're a good match, want to get married.
Yeah.
All in the friend zone without even
emotions.
without a date.
Right.
And I know you and your husband was in that as well. You got to know each other in the friend zone. And then you're like, wait, what? No way. And it was the same for us. The package was not what I was looking for either.
You're older and a little bit taller than me.
He's shorter and younger, like you said.
Oh, man.
But you know what? What a blessing. Now, when we chose each other, and it was intentional, we chose each other because we saw that we are aligning on that mission and vision in life. And, God wants us to be partnered up. Right? When we go back into the garden and see how Adam was created and Eve was created for him, for what? To fulfill the mission that they had, be fruitful and multiply, right? So there was a mission on their lives, and we all have that. And when we find each other, everything inside of us becomes alive.
So I would say that not only as far as attraction is concerned, that wasn't really a strong point for us in the beginning. Attraction was developed after we made a decision because the math made sense. The math was adding up, and then the attraction was formed out of that, the decision that arose from that.
That is such a great way of putting it. And I hope people are really grasping onto that, because so often we look at the outward and then it doesn't add up, and they're like, oh, and looks fade and attraction fades. There's certain things that fade, but the core of who you are, being able to be compatible, grow together, all of those things are super, super important. Like we mentioned with both of our stories being super similar, it's that grows when you don't have those expectations on it. My husband back then did. He was like, oh, I already knew that you were going to be it for me. I'm like, no, you didn't. And he's like, yes, I did. I was like, okay, well, I had no clue. And I chose not to see. And I was just like, you're just a friend, and that's all you're going to be, until the layers started coming off. But to your point, having that safe place with friends is so important. And stop putting those expectations. And like you said, already signing his last name and thinking it's going to go somewhere. Take a little bit of time. It's okay. There's no need to rush. And you two are living proof of not rushing, getting married later. But, society puts all these pressures on us of we got to do it this way, that way, the other way. And, you know, I don't want to follow society's timelines. It doesn't really have the things that I want anyway. So we're skipping that part.
Yeah.
But as we're wrapping this up today, because this is so good, I hope that people are really like taking this in. And whether you're single or not, share this with somebody. Somebody needs to hear this. They need a hopeful message like this, because so many singles or people that are just, you know, maybe needing a re-spark in their marriage, right? Like married couples can be listening to this being like, oh, I haven't even thought about that in a long time or ever. I wonder what that could do to, like, you know, really get my marriage kind of back on track again. Anything else that either of you would like to end with? Plus, after all that, definitely share where people can reach out to you, because I'm sure they'll have many more questions and want to connect.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would like to speak to the people that may perhaps be thinking, I'm doing everything you said. I have loads of friends, lots of lady friends. I'm putting myself out there. I have loads of confidence in, you know, walking up to a lady or a guy and starting a conversation and building friendship, and I'm still single. Or the camp that says, oh, I can get married easy anytime. I just don't want to. To those, I would say the opposite spectrum. We still look at the fruit. You're not married. Okay. So what we're usually often dealing with is a fear of or an incapability of committing to one person and getting focused. So we come back to the focus. So it's the difference between the butterflies going from flower to flower, they're everybody's friend, to the wallflower. So are you a wallflower or are you the butterfly going from flower to flower? Both of them tend to produce singlehood.
Yeah. That was well said. And, you know, some other things too, I'm just thinking how creating a habit of connection, you know, because when you get married, it doesn't stop. You need to have a connection, kind of a ritual of connection with your husband, with your wife, and then your children when you have children. So all of that, if you know how to connect, if you have this practices of connection, it's going to be much easier. And we also talk about how, you know, what gets you married keeps you married. If you don't have the skills now, it's only going to be harder in marriage. So we're giving you the tools so you can have skills to have a great, beautiful marriage, and you can design it however you want it. It doesn't have to look like anyone else's marriage, right? Use your imagination there and put two of your brains together and make that work however you desire. And that's the beauty of it, that we don't have to focus on the fairy tales that were presented to us, right? You create your own and have fun with it.
Yes, that's beautiful. That I mean, you end with such great, like, I'm like, oh, we could even just go a tangent on that. So many people are waiting for that fairy tale. And like the design of marriage is not to be like, oh, okay, the hard work's done. There's a lot of work inside of marriage, but it's beautiful work. And there's coming together. There's, you know, blossoming into somebody that God's called you to be, people calling you higher, being there and giving grace, giving love, being gentle, pushing each other forward, pressing on. I mean, there's so many different aspects to it. So thank you both so much for coming on the show. All the ways that you can connect with them will be in the show notes below. So you can be able to click, go connect. These two obviously are living fruit. As Jesse said, you will know them by their fruit. And so these two are definitely the fruit of what it is that they preach and how they get to pour into other people. So thank you both so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having us. It's been fun.